Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. It's time, once again, for another depressing dose of dismal Disney. More has come out about the recent firing of Victoria Alonso from Marvel Studios. Her attorney, Patty Glaser, is disputing Disney's now published claims about her client's sudden firing and is weighing the possibility of legal action and promising serious consequences. As I had explained in my previous video that I had only released about 2 days ago, my impression of Victoria Alonso is that she felt completely secure and safe in her position due to her having multiple filled checkboxes. She's a woman, she's gay, and she's Latina. Consequently, she may have taken a lot more liberties with her position than she was probably entitled to, with one of the end results being that Marvel's and Disney's MCU movies suddenly began to underperform and fail at the box office following a multi-year run of movies that were making hundreds of millions of dollars per film for the studios. And that negative turning point began with the release of the very first MCU Phase 4 film in July of 2021. And it was only 2 months later, in September of 2021, when Victoria Alonso was promoted to being president of physical, post-production, VFX, and animation. Naturally, she's not too happy about being fired from that position. So she's making it clear to Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, and everyone at Disney that she is not going to go quietly. And so, the Oscar-nominated producer has retained the services of attorney Patty Glaser, who, interestingly, is also representing Karen McCarthy, who was fired last year only days after accepting an offer from Lucasfilm to executive produce the TV series named The Acolyte, which is the show that's being created by Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslie Headland, who was hired by Kathleen Kennedy in 2020. In a statement released on Friday on behalf of Victoria Alonso, Patty Glaser said, "The idea that Victoria was fired over a handful of press interviews relating to a personal passion project about human rights and democracy that was nominated for an Oscar and which she got Disney's blessing to work on is absolutely ridiculous." Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. Then she was terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Disney and Marvel made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There is a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly, in one form or another. And of course, this is suggesting the possibility of a lawsuit. But a Disney spokesperson responded with a message of their own, saying, "It's unfortunate that Victoria is sharing a narrative that leaves out several key factors concerning her departure, including an indisputable breach of contract and a direct violation of company policy. We will continue to wish her the best for the future and thank her for her numerous contributions to the studio." And I'll add here that I find it very unlikely that Disney would have fired Victoria Alonso without first having had their attorneys carefully examine her contract beforehand, so that it would be very difficult for her to try and sue them afterwards. Disney's claim that Victoria Alonso was in breach of contract has to do with her involvement with the film Argentina 1985, which was an Argentine historical drama that was distributed by Amazon and competed for the Best International Feature Oscar. Victoria Alonso was one of 8 producers on that film, and by assuming that role, she breached her contract several times, according to sources. After repeated warnings, the situation came to a head the week after the Academy Awards and ultimately led to her termination, which was a seismic shakeup at Marvel, where for years Alonso was part of the Holy Trinity, along with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige and co-president Louis D'Esposito, who had led the Marvel Cinematic Universe to ever greater heights. Well, at least until the start of MCU's disappointing Phase 4. According to insiders, Alonso breached a 2018 agreement that included the company's standards of business conduct, which states that employees cannot work for competing studios. Sources say that Alonso did not ask permission to work on Argentina 1985, nor did she give notice, although an IndieWire piece published last month on the film stated that she did have permission. Obviously, whether she had permission or not will be a key point of contention if there is ultimately a lawsuit. When Disney found out about the project and the violation, Her longtime service and veteran status led the company to give her a dispensation on the condition that she not work on the movie further. She was also told not to promote it or publicize it in any way. The situation of a top executive working on a movie outside company confines was deemed serious enough to involve the management audit team, and a new memo was signed, according to an insider. Argentina 1985 premiered in September 2022 at the Venice International Film Festival, and soon the drama was on the awards track. Alonso then found herself front and center in the film's campaign, attending screenings, sitting on panels, and doing interviews. According to sources, she was reminded of her agreement and her breach several times, but the campaigning continued. She then appeared on the Oscars' arrivals carpet, not as a Marvel executive associated with that studio's multi-nominated movie, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, but rather as a producer of Argentina 1985, walking alongside that film's director, Santiago Mitre. What also rankled Disney executives was that while she was busy promoting Argentina 1985, her purview over Marvel's visual effects, as president of physical, post-production, visual effects, and animation production, was busier than ever. In other words, she was shirking her responsibilities at Disney in order to work on and promote Argentina 1985, then she insulted her Disney co-workers at the Oscars by essentially shunning them. Further, regardless of industry, when a supervisor tells someone to stop doing something and they continue doing it anyway, that person is setting themselves up to be fired. Victoria Alonso did not listen. And as I had touched on in my previous video, throughout the last couple of years, as Marvel pumped out an unprecedented number of series and movies, a general impression emerged that VFX artists were not being well treated by Marvel, attributed to factors including long hours, drum-tight deadlines, and a lack of singular vision. Releases including the February film Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania were catching flack for subpar visual effects work, while Alonso herself became more and more polarizing. You can only ask a person to stay until 1 a.m. working on VFX shots for so long before things start to break, says one post-production source. Another post-production talent says that they have avoided working with Marvel because of Alonso's reputation for being challenging. What had apparently brought things to a head was Alonso's appearance at the Oscars, and then she was terminated with cause. Alonso's firing shocked Hollywood because of its sudden nature and because the reasons for it were initially unknown. Some had speculated that Alonso was being silenced because she was outspoken about Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill, which Governor Ron DeSantis signed in March 2022. As long as I am at Marvel Studios, I will fight for representation, Alonso, who is gay, said at the time, recounting at the 2022 GLAAD Media Awards of how she spoke with then Disney CEO Bob Chapek for 45 minutes on the topic. Under Chapek, Disney did take a stand against the bill, which ultimately resulted in a clash with the state government and the loss of a special tax status. Thus, it was a move that will likely cost the company millions, and Alonso was partially responsible for that by pressuring Chapek. And a source close to the matter said that following Alonso's remarks at the 2022 GLAAD Awards, she was told she could no longer do press for Marvel projects. And it would appear that Alonso's work on Argentina 1985 was a culminating event for the executive's tenure at Marvel, which had become increasingly fraught due to well-publicized criticisms of the studio's approach to visual effects, which was one of the departments Alonso oversaw. Marvel's most recent release, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, suffered withering criticism of its visual effects, and the film is one of the lowest-grossing Marvel Studios films in the company's history. Chances are that Disney execs simply used Alonso's involvement in Argentina 1985 as an opportunity to get rid of her. Had her public criticisms of Bob Chapek in 2022 been at the forefront of her firing, then she probably would have been let go last year before Bob Iger had returned. But that, combined with the financial losses from MCU's Phase 4 and Phase 5, as well as her apparent lack of loyalty to Disney, were simply what put her position into jeopardy. As I said at the start of the video, all of her marked checkboxes that included being a woman, being gay, and being Latina were insufficient to protect her, even though she likely believed that they were her ticket to essentially doing whatever she wanted at Disney. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to see more of our videos in the future and help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.